Welcome everybody as you join us live on abc7.com and our 24/7 streaming channels. Chris Christie up in Air 7 as we follow this procession of a fallen San Bernardino County Sheriff's Deputy who was killed in the line of duty earlier this afternoon. We are live over Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, where the remains of that deputy have just been placed in that van right there in the center of your screen. Deputy Andrew Nunez, a 6-year veteran of the force, taken down by a lone gunman during a domestic violence call this afternoon. Then an incident that really shook this whole area ended up in a pursuit as deputies chased the suspect on a motorcycle down the 210 freeway. Eventually that suspect crashing in freeway traffic, and that suspect went flying but somehow was able to survive that crash and has been taken to the hospital in stable condition. Again, you can see a massive outpouring of mourners from various police departments and other agencies here in the San Bernardino area, including Fontana, Ontario PD, and Rancho Cucamonga. You can see that procession about to get underway here as the van pulls away from Arrowhead Regional Medical Center onto Meridian Street, where dozens and dozens of law enforcement officers are ready to escort this body to San Bernardino over to the coroner's office on Lena Road, I should say, in the next several minutes. The van about to make that turn onto Meridian, and you can see all of those deputies and other police officers in place for this procession as it gets underway. You can see the van now driving underneath that hero flag set up by the fire department right there along Meridian. Again, we're adjacent to Arrowhead Regional Medical Center as this procession gets underway. An entire community shook by this afternoon's events. Really just an unbelievable afternoon out here that really has rattled everybody, including not only these law enforcement agencies, but has really affected a lot of people out here as we were out here all afternoon covering the calamity that started over in Rancho Cucamonga and then ended up in a pursuit on the 210 freeway that brought a screeching halt to the evening commute here for thousands and thousands as that freeway just, I believe, started opening up a short time ago, at least one lane, I believe. But the eastbound lanes shut down for an extensive investigation after an off-duty officer swerved in front of that motorcyclist at extreme speeds, at times that motorcyclist pushing 150 miles per hour as he was trying to evade law enforcement. He pulled out a gun, and that's when he crashed, as he crashed into another off-duty deputy and went flying. Again, the suspect taken to the hospital. He was airlifted to Loma Linda in stable condition. Unfortunately, the deputy who he shot in the head has died here at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center as this procession continues down Meridian. He will eventually make a left, and we expect approximately a 10 to 15 minute procession over to the coroner's office where they will be preparing for a major funeral in the coming days. Once again, a sight we are all too accustomed to seeing here in Southern California and throughout the country as another Law enforcement officer has been killed in the line of duty as this procession makes a turn onto West Valley Boulevard. That sheriff's deputy loaded into that van there with a large caravan of police officers from the surrounding community take place in this short but slow procession from Arrowhead over to the coroner's office. You can see Meridian lined with upwards of 100 law enforcement officers from San Bernardino, Fontana, Ontario, Rancho Cucamonga, and other neighboring agencies who have come out here to pay their respects after a shocking fatality in their ranks here, as one of those deputies was shot and killed earlier this afternoon. Again, Deputy Andrew Nunez on the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Force for about 6 years, meeting his demise this afternoon in a really unfortunate set of events. And again, the suspect is now in custody. Motorcycle officers leading the way for the van right there with the body of Deputy Andrew Nunez, who leaves behind a pregnant wife and a 2-year-old daughter, and an entire police department who is coping with the loss of one of their brothers this evening. And it's a really just heart-wrenching sight as we see this procession that, again, we just are just all too used to seeing here after events like this. And this one is no exception. It will be another very difficult week for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. You can see the helicopter overhead escorting this procession over towards the east a bit. Just a few miles from here is the coroner's office in downtown San Bernardino. Yep, I got you. Appears they'll be taking West Valley Boulevard over to the east here and possibly making a left turn. In fact, it does indeed look like they'll be making a left turn onto Colton Avenue, and that will take them up towards Leno, where that is the location, obviously, of the coroner's office here in San Bernardino. Right now, continuing to travel eastbound on Valley Boulevard as the remainder of this procession still is turning off of Meridian. Again, we're talking about a half-mile procession, it looks like, as these officers line up here in slow formation as the remains of Deputy Andrew Nunez are escorted from the hospital over to the coroner's office after just a bad bad day here for law enforcement in the Inland Empire. Once again, if you're just joining us, to recap, Chris Christie up in Air 7 as we follow the procession of fallen Deputy Andrew Nunez from the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center over to the San Bernardino Coroner's Office. You can see a long line of law enforcement from across San Bernardino County now piling onto Valley Boulevard off of Meridian here. As you can see, this caravan stretching about a half mile to a mile from the beginning here as they continue to make their way towards the east, towards the coroner's office, as they pay their respects to their fallen deputy who was met by a suspect's bullet earlier this afternoon responding to a domestic violence call. That suspect shooting the deputy in the head. That deputy pronounced dead this afternoon at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. A horrific set of events here in San Bernardino. Again, that deputy was killed, leaving behind a pregnant wife, a 2-year-old daughter, and an entire police department that is absolutely distraught this evening to learn of this tragic loss. And again, it really was a chaotic set of events because what started as a shooting call ended up in a barricade of some sort, the SWAT team responding out to that call. Eventually, the suspect jumping on a motorcycle, leading police on a high-speed chase down the 210 freeway, eventually colliding with another vehicle at a high rate of speed, upwards of 130 miles, that suspect thrown in the air and somehow survived. That freeway, just opening up a short time ago, was shut down for much of the evening commute. That rush hour, absolutely a nightmare this afternoon as the eastbound side of the 210 freeway was shut down for the investigation. I believe they've opened up at least one lane. That suspect airlifted from the freeway over to Loma Linda Hospital, where he is in stable condition and will be facing a mountain of criminal charges. Copy that. Copy. Who is it? It's been happening a lot. The procession continuing now, turning off of West Valley Boulevard onto Mount Vernon Avenue. A long line, over 100 law enforcement officers escorting the remains of Deputy Andrew Nunez to the coroner's office from Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. You can see this long, lengthy procession winding its way through San Bernardino en route to the coroner's office, now turning on to Colton Avenue here. The van led by a configuration of motor units right there. Again, California Highway Patrol, San Bernardino, Fontana, Ontario, Rancho Cucamonga, amongst the agencies represented out here as they escort this body over to the coroner's office. Again, a very sad evening here in the Inland Empire after the loss of one of their own deputies in the line of duty this afternoon. The procession now passing the 215 freeway. You can see heading up Inland Center Drive, or past Inland Center Drive, just to the north here. Hundreds of deputies and police officers escorting the remains of Deputy Andrew Nunez, a 6-year veteran of the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, after he was shot and killed in the line of duty this afternoon. Procession that started just about 20 minutes ago or so, departing Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, heading for the coroner's office in downtown San Bernardino. You can see this long procession winding through the area here, just off of Colton Avenue, making their way off of Valley Boulevard. Just a really lengthy procession, as we are often seeing, or too often see in these situations. You can see deputies and police officers from across the area paying their respects in these initial hours of shock and grief. This all happened at about roughly 1 o'clock or so this afternoon. That's when the shooting happened, and eventually that suspect who shot the deputy engaged in a high-speed pursuit on his motorcycle down the 210 freeway. And the rest is history. That suspect is in custody after crashing with another off-duty officer who somehow intervened and swerved into the motorcycle, sending him flying, and then eventually being airlifted to the hospital. And now that fallen deputy, who leaves behind a pregnant wife and a 2-year-old daughter, on his way to the coroner's office, where there will be a full autopsy and eventually a huge funeral in the coming days. See firefighters paying their respects at each of these intersections, police directing traffic. Copy. Copy that. Once again, the ceremonial procession of fallen Deputy Andrew Nunez here in San Bernardino continuing to weave through Colton and San Bernardino proper as they escort the remains from the hospital, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, over towards the coroner's office. You can see the fire department and various police departments alike paying their respects out here at each of these intersections. Hundreds of deputies and law enforcement officers from across the Inland Empire and even points beyond as they pay their respects here to the fallen deputy who leaves behind a pregnant wife and a 2-year-old daughter. Andrew Nunez been on the force for about 6 years, responding to a domestic violence call this afternoon at approximately 1 o'clock, where he was met by gunfire and was killed. Looks like some other folks coming out to pay their respects as well. You can see some local residents with the American flag on the corner there. Each of these intersections, we were seeing a lot of shut down roads with fire trucks. Firefighters standing in salute as they pay their respects here as this procession continues up Lena Road, which is the final destination for this procession. Just a few blocks from the coroner's office. Once again, another hero salute here by the fire department as the motorcade continues under the flag-draped ladders. That sheriff's van right there with the remains of Deputy Andrew Nunez now pulling into the coroner's office, led by that contingent of motor officers, and behind him no less than 100 to 150 black and whites and law enforcement officers from across the Inland Empire as they pay their respects to this fallen deputy. You can see the sidewalk lined with more law enforcement. Also family in this caravan as well as the van pulls up to the coroner's office right there. Deputies now forming a receiving line here momentarily as the van pulls into the coroner's office here. Backing up there, that's the sheriff's van. And all of those deputies who participated in this procession now finding their spots and making their way over here on foot as they start to line up here. Another sad, poignant moment as they transfer the body out of the van momentarily and into the coroner's office, where there will be a full autopsy as this investigation continues into every facet of this afternoon's officer-involved shooting. Deputy Andrew Nunez shot during a domestic violence call in Rancho Cucamonga. Copy that. Once again, as those deputies line up for this salute, this will do it for our coverage from up here in Air 7. This procession coming to an end at the San Bernardino Coroner's Office. A poignant procession as hundreds of deputies and law enforcement officers escort one of their fallen brothers over here from the hospital.